watching The High Road with me, Keith Warren, brought to you by Timber Creek Outdoors.
This is a bolt-action .308 caliber handgun. It's called the Stryker, and it's made by the Savage Arms Company. Hi everybody, I'm Keith Warren, and welcome to Hunting and Outdoor Adventures. This week, we'll be using the Savage Stryker going after bull elk in Nebraska, so stick around. Regular viewers of Hunting and Outdoor Adventures have seen me take numerous animals using a handgun. My very first animal to hunt was a Colorado pronghorn. This buck was 160 yards away. I couldn't believe the accuracy and the knockdown power. Then I took my handgun to southwest Texas, where I hunted for free-ranging black buck antelope. This was my second animal to take with my handgun. So far, I was 2 for 2. After I'd gained my confidence of not only being able to hit my target, but also the effectiveness of my handgun, I decided to do all my elk hunts last season using the Savage Stryker. In New Mexico, I took this nice 5x5 bull at the range of 150 yards using a 165 grain trophy bonded bear claw Federal Premium cartridge. Then I took my very first 6x6 elk in Colorado using the Stryker. The more I hunted with a handgun, the more I enjoyed it. And this bull was truly a great trophy. On today's show, I'll be using my Savage Stryker heading up to Nebraska as I go after a trophy elk. That's right, folks, I said Nebraska. I'll be hunting with former All-Pro tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, Jay Novacek, on his ranch located in central Nebraska. I first hunted with Jay several years ago on the Celebrity Ranch in Texas, where we videotaped him shooting a beautiful 10-point Pope and Young whitetail buck with his bow. On this hunt, I had a chance to get to know Jay and to learn that he loved the outdoors as much as I did. As a matter of fact, he has a business that everyone watching the show will want to know about.
I have a business down in Texas, a magazine called the Texas Hunting Directory. And it's such a neat magazine. It's a very, very high quality magazine. Comes out annually, mainly right at the beginning of September. And what it is, it's a magazine with listings of ranches, of hunting operations, mainly in the state of Texas, even though we have started opening up to do a little bit of not only North America, but worldwide with outfitters and hunting operations worldwide. And it's such a neat magazine. It has some great articles. Well, not all of them are great because I do actually write, and that's scary. But I get to write an article and I have fun with that.
The Texas Hunting Directory is an annual publication that lists hunting opportunities across the entire country. Plus, it has some of the best articles on hunting you'll find anywhere. If you want to get a copy of the Texas Hunting Directory, call 1-800-676-5703. After the break, we'll get started on a Nebraska elk hunt. Don't go away. Welcome back to Hunting and Outdoor Adventures and to Jay Novacek's Wildlife Kingdom in central Nebraska.
The main thing with being in the middle of Nebraska is everybody thinks this place is flat, and I tell people when they come out to hunt, I said, you know, bring some good, comfortable hunting shoes, ones that you would wear out in the mountains, and that you go up and down hills and be in good enough shape to make that, and they all look at me like I'm crazy. And it's always the same. The first time people come out here, they say, wow, you never expect this in the middle of Nebraska. It's deep hills, canyons. I have some box canyons back in there where you just cannot get out. You have to turn around and come out the way you came in. Cedar trees, ash trees. It's just absolutely gorgeous country, and people just don't realize it.
I'm hunting for a trophy bull elk, but I found that Jay's ranch was home to numerous other species. We saw black buck antelope, several different species of sheep, Pierre David deer, and lots of fallow deer. Even the rare Himalayan tahr.
The odd-edge sheep just sit there and run up and down those cliffs, and it's just incredible to watch them. The Pierre David deer are from China, and at one time there was as little as 400 or 500 of these deer. And they brought them in, and through game ranches like I have here, we've now developed a wide variety of animals such as the Davids to where there's 3,000 or 4,000 of them in the world now. And that's one of the most satisfying things of owning an exotic ranch, is you can have an animal that is virtually almost extinct and bring that back and populate the world with it. The fallow deer are probably the easiest exotic animal to raise. They breed good. They live in all types of climate area, all the way from Canada all the way down to South Texas. They're a very, very versatile animal to have on your game ranch. The neat thing about them is they come in all sorts of different colors and variations of size. Their antlers grow out in between an elk and a moose. They have some very, very impressive antlers that come out wide and go up and they palmate. And, of course, palmating being like the palm of your hand and the points coming off of that. And they're just impressive animals. And a lot of the animals out here, they'll born with twins. And that kind of is a good sign that you're doing things right nutrition-wise and that they're healthy animals going into the winter. The way the terrain is structured, it's a very unique way to do a lot of spotting and stalking. It's neat to have a first-time hunter, a kid come out here and be able to get in close to these animals and to offer a real good shot for them. We have a great archery and a great rifle range so that we can get the gun sighted in and get everything perfect.
No matter what type of case you store your firearm or bow in, it's always a good idea to check if you're still sighted in before actually starting to hunt. Jay took me to his range to where I checked my striker for accuracy. The best load I've found for elk hunting with this gun is Federal Premium's ammo with a 180 grain Nosler partition bullet. With this cartridge, I shoot 2-inch groups at 100 yards. The different looking sight on the handgun is called a hollow sight, and it's made by Bushnell. It was about 20 degrees. While I shot my gun, Jay stayed in his truck to keep warm and also to keep an eye on where I was shooting. After a couple of shots, I knew the gun was still dead on.
One thing that I noticed, Keith, when you wanted to do this hunt is you wanted to bring a handgun along. And of course, anytime you start using weapons other than rifles, the range gets shorter and shorter. This is a great place to come and hunt with a bow, hunt with a handgun, because it's very challenging, but yet with the way the terrain is set up, you can sneak in and get close to these animals. The main thing that you really have to watch is not to spook them that first time, because they get very, very wild on you in a hurry. And I've had a lot of people come in thinking that they can just pop up over the hill and get right in and harvest an animal. It's not so true that way. There's a lot of times we'll be glassing for a certain animal and you look off over the other side, half mile away, and you have a bunch of eyes just sitting there looking at you, ears up. And there's so many animals, which is the neat thing about it. There's so many animals that when you do plant a stalk, you can't just go in on that one animal. You have to look at all these other animals that you're going to bump and scare the animal. And so it's going to be a very challenging hunt, and it's a lot of fun to hunt like that. We just have a blast doing it.
When we get back from the break, you'll see how challenging hunting with a handgun can be. Welcome back to Hunting and Outdoor Adventures and to Jay Novacek's Wildlife Kingdom in central Nebraska. Jay and I hiked up a steep hillside to the top of a ridge where we could do some glassing. We saw lots of beautiful country, but we didn't see any elk.
Keith, you fortunately get to come up in a time of year that is absolutely my favorite time of the year. It's November, early November. We're up here. The mule deer and the whitetail deer are starting their rut. You can get snow, you can get 60-degree weather, you can get rain. You just have no idea what type the temperature is going to be. And that's why you need to bring comfortable shoes. You need to bring comfortable hunting gear that can both be warm and also rain protected, because we can get a lot of snow, and you sit down glassing these hills, your butt can get a little bit wet and cold. But that's the neat thing about it is you are out hunting, you're out in the weather that a lot of people get used to hunting in. And that's a neat time of the year to do this. Wintertime, we don't have as many hunters come in. The ground is pretty frozen and it gets pretty cold, but we have some that'll come in and brave that cold weather.
After walking many miles up and down the hills, I realized this handgun hunt for elk was not going to be easy. That night, we returned to the lodge where we ate with Jay's parents. Then we had a chance just to kick back and relax. After the break, I get my first look at a trophy Nebraska bull elk. Stick around. Welcome back to Hunting and Outdoor Adventures and to my elk hunt in central Nebraska. As a heavy wet snow was falling, I got a good look at my first Nebraska bull elk. He was absolutely beautiful and within range, but I decided to pass on this one. I hoped I'd made the right decision. The wet snow soon ended and the sky cleared. The forecast was for a warming trend, and I hope so because it was cold. We hiked up to another ridge to where we saw this young bull across the canyon standing in the cedars. As far as we could tell, that was the only bull on the hillside. It was late in the afternoon when we spotted these big bulls on top of a ridge about 300 yards away. At first, I saw only 2 bulls. Then I realized there were 3. I decided to try to head them off and hopefully get within range before we ran out of daylight. Using the brush for cover, I made my way up the steep hillside. Then I spotted another bull. This one was looking in my direction. As he turned to go into the brush, I hoped he hadn't seen me. As I made my way up the steep mountainside, I was in for a surprise when I saw this bull heading my way. Look at this dude. Look at him. He is one heck of a beautiful bull. He's a big old 5x5, but then if you take a look, he's got a abnormal tine. Put the old Stryker right there. That buddy of mine has taken 3 big old bulls so far this season. If you take a look, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's unusual because he only has a single brow tine right here on both sides. And then going up the other side, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he's kind of unusual because he only has single brow tines rather than double brow tines. But man, what a hunt. And I'll tell you what, folks, if y'all want to come to a great place, you're going to see lots of animals. You're going to be with some of the best people in the world. Come to Jay Novacek's Wild Kingdom. We'll see you next week on Hunting and Outdoor Adventures. Gotta go get Jay, and now the work begins.